people can see it, so it's recording. All right, and
Hey, weather.
you should be good to go. You're on now.
Oh,
you want to see yourself? Yeah. I mean, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The audio, just to know, to bring it
Yep.
up. Okay, so we're on.
Yeah, I'll slide this down over the side here.
Okay.
If you click on this little thing, that will expand it so that you can see all the questions if the questions are really long.
Gotcha.
Okay? And there's that back, and you can flip back and forth between the two windows.
Cool.
Just don't close that one.
Don't close it.
It'll be horrible.
All right. Hey everyone, it's Melissa Magee here with 6ABC. Good afternoon. It is time for our live weather chat, and we're actually behind the scenes. I'm inside the studio once again, and to my left is David Murphy. Say hey, David. Hey. He's getting ready for the noon broadcast that is going to start in a couple of minutes now. So this is our weekly weather chat that we're hoping to do every week. We did one last week, and we have Sarah Bloomquist, and we actually have Rick Williams. They're about to start the noon broadcast. So let me actually show you.
We have developing information on a raid involving alligators taking place right now in one Philadelphia neighborhood.
Oh, look.
The bid is underway for the future of the Philadelphia newspaper.
Pretty cool, huh?
Patrol.
Former First Lady Laura Bush delivers some shocking new revelations in her new book.
Yeah.
We have a meaningful recall to tell you about this noon. Meteorologist David Murphy with your exclusive weather forecast. Well, next, right here on Action News at Noon.
So I was just a little quiet because they're in the middle of doing a live tease for the noon broadcast, just teasing what's going to be coming up on the show, and David's getting ready for the show, putting all of his graphics together as
once
well.
the show starts, you can talk as loud as long as you want.
Okay, good. I have permission from David to talk as loud and as long as I want. So we're talking about the weather, and you know, the last time I left you guys, it was last Wednesday, and a lot of people had questions about what the weather was going to bring this past weekend, because we were talking about rain, and it had been a while since we had any rainfall. I remember Bill was on, and he was telling me that his daughter was getting married on Sunday. Remember that one, David?
Yes, I do.
And he was wondering what the weather was going to be like around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And just like AccuWeather called, for the most part, we had the steady and the heavy rainfall in the morning, and then it kind of tapered off to some showers and drizzle in the afternoon. But hopefully Bill and his daughter had a lovely wedding, and all was well and blissful as they head into their wedded bliss. So let's talk about what happened with that rainfall. We actually picked up on Sunday about an inch of rainfall, and on Monday we actually got close to 0.69 inches of rainfall. Yesterday, just about a trace of rain. But you know what? We needed the rainfall. So far for the month of April, we've only seen 2.65 inches, and normally for this month we're close to about 3 inches of rainfall. So even though it made for a pretty nasty and crummy, dreary looking weekend, the precipitation was needed, and of course we know April showers bring May flowers, so hopefully we'll have more of that. And the precipitation, even though it didn't help our weekend, it was definitely needed. Now we are still dealing with that storm system indirectly. Take a look at what's going on today with the weather pattern. What we have going on is that area of low pressure responsible for producing the wet weather we had over the weekend is up across northern sections of New England, up through Maine and the Canadian Maritimes. And folks out across Vermont and New Hampshire are dealing with a foot of snow in some spots. Now we're still on the back side of that storm system, so we will have a few clouds today and a northwest wind. It's going to stay cool with a high temperature today of 60 degrees with that northwest wind gusting to about 35 miles per hour at times. And if you woke up this morning, or perhaps you're outside doing a morning jog or a walk, it was chilly. Take a look at the morning lows across the Delaware and Lehigh Valleys. It was 32 in the Poconos for the morning low. Philadelphia, not bad, 40 degrees. 37 was the morning low in Reading, 33 in Allentown. Wilmington, 35 degrees. And in Lancaster, we had a morning low of about 33 degrees. So that cool northwest wind was definitely cooling things off. And in fact, tonight, expect more of the same. Clear skies, light winds. We could have a concern once again for freeze warnings, mainly to the north of Philadelphia. If you're through the Lehigh Valley or right through Northampton County, that's where we have a concern once again of finding some patchy frost across the region, with clear skies and diminishing winds once again as high pressure finally comes back into our region. So even though the wet weather is gone, we're still dealing with this storm system indirectly that affected us over the weekend with the gusty northwest winds winds, that cool air. Kind of feels like March outside a little bit rather than April. And of course, we had those morning lows. So if you guys have any questions throughout the hour, I'm going to be here to answer your questions about the weather for any upcoming events you have going on, or about the weather that's happening today. And we actually have a lot of people in the web chat this afternoon. So we have Kathria, I think that is, or Katharia, that is her name. She wants to become a meteorologist. What do I recommend she does? Let's see, which school should she go out? I don't know. That might be a little bit more stressful. Murphy says, be a lawyer. Depends on how many hours you want to work. So if you want to be a meteorologist, David and I did Mississippi State, which is a broadcast meteorology program. We were already in television and went back to get our meteorology degree. I will officially have my degree, if I pass this test, at the end of August, early September. But the classes that I took were atmospheric classes, geoscience classes. That's what you want to do. If you're in high school, maybe take some math-based classes, science-based classes. If you're in college, a university here that's well known in the state of Pennsylvania is Penn State. They have a great meteorology program. Prior to coming to Philadelphia, I was working in New York, but prior to that, I was actually working for AccuWeather, and they're based in State College, which is where Penn State University is. And there were a sea of meteorologists that I work with, most of whom went to Penn State, a really great university if you are looking at getting a meteorology degree. And of course, bumping the numbers when it comes to females and women in this career, because we've got to get those numbers up too. So hopefully that answers your question. I know Adam Joseph, I think he went to Linden. SUNY in Albany, upstate in New York, that's a good one too. But you definitely want to take some atmospheric or geoscience classes. So good luck with your studies, and hopefully that answers your question. Let's see, more questions we have. And I'm going to be here again throughout the hour answering your questions.
Go ahead and put currents in. I think.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
You know what? Let's see if they're in. Actually, they're probably on.
Yeah, I'll put them. So, you guys, when David Murphy does his live broadcast, his full weather, at noon we have to put in the stats, the information that tells you the temperature and the direction. So we actually have to do that ourselves and get reports that come in throughout the hour. And so the noon stats that come in, so I have to put those in for him so we can tell you what's going on.
That would be the locals and the senior lenders. A third group, a Canadian group that owns a newspaper in Winnipeg, has apparently yet to make a bid. Live at the Empire Building in North Philadelphia, Channel 6.
John, thank you. Toyota has just announced another recall this noon. 2003 model year Sequoia SUVs are being recalled because of a problem with the electronic.
Another Toyota recall.
Says the problem can cause the vehicles to slow down unexpectedly or to not accelerate properly. 50,000
It used to be brakes, now it's
50,000
acceleration.
vehicles were involved in this recall.
So guys, just give me 1 second. I just want to put David's information on so he could tell you what's going on at home as far as the weather goes and what the temperature looks like right
Right now,
now.
some University Hospital nurses are voting on whether to ratify a temporary contract agreement and return to work by the end of the week. 1,500 nurses and allied health professionals went on strike on March 31st. They walked out in a dispute over wages, health benefits, and a contractual clause preventing them from speaking out about the hospital. The pivotal issue was said to be Temple's tuition reimbursement for dependents of employees. Bob Brady helped broker the deal. Two sides came to an agreement last night. Nurses anticipate the contract will be ratified and they will return to work at 7 p.m. Friday. The search in August news for the killer who gunned down a man while he sat in his minivan overnight. Police say the victim was shot in the head shortly after midnight here on the 3900 block of Folsom Street in the city's Nashville section. The victim's identity
Almost
has not yet
done.
been released, and so far no arrests have been made. Philadelphia is also searching for the gunman who shot a delivery van on the street in West Oak Lane overnight. The victim was shot to death while delivering Chinese food on the 7900 block of Providence Street just after 2 o'clock. He was rushed to Einstein Hospital where he remains in stable condition. Suspects fled the scene. And there's more information this noon about a double murder at a Berks County motel. Two women were found shot to death just after 6 o'clock last night inside of a room here at the Hillside Motel on Route 422 in Amity Township. Victims were found by another motel guest, who is still withholding the victims' names right now. While authorities say they questioned several people, no one has been taken into custody.
A teenager who stole a SEPTA bus last month was caught trying to do it again. This is video from back on March 17th when the teenager drove the SEPTA bus from the 69th Street terminal in Upper Darby and crashed into several vehicles. A SEPTA official says the same team returned to the 69th Street terminal last night to try to steal another bus. A worker stopped the
All right, guys, back to the chat. So we've got a lot of people in the web chat today, so I do want to get through all of your questions. And we were talking about how cold it was this morning. We actually had some freeze warnings and frost advisories, mainly to the north of Philadelphia. I wouldn't be surprised if once again tonight we had some freeze warnings, but I think the freeze warnings will be confined to areas north of Philadelphia. If you're through Northampton County, right through the Lehigh Valley, that's where we're looking at temperatures close to the freezing mark. I don't think we're going to get that close, but it will be chilly. So once again, cover up your pets, or bring your pets inside, but yet, and cover up your pots and the plants. So I remember Sue from New Jersey, she had a question about this last week. And last week we really weren't looking at a lot of freeze warnings, but it all depends on the weather pattern and the direction of the winds. Right now we're on the backside of a storm system that's moving through the Canadian Maritimes, and you have a cool northwesterly wind working its way into our region. So depending on what type of air mass you're dealing with, it may allow for freeze warnings or frost advisories to be posted. So once again tonight we have a freeze warning mainly to the north of our region, right through the Lehigh Valley, or to the north of Philadelphia I should say. Lehigh Valley is still in our area, and also through Northampton County. So let's wrap up the month of April. It really wasn't bad. We didn't have that many days where temperatures were below average. We start the month out with temperatures in the upper 50s, and we end the month with temperatures in the upper 60s. And we had a lot of days where temperatures were above average. And now let's fast forward into May. Normally in the month of May, as far as precipitation, we look at about 4.84 inches of rainfall, and temperatures start out in the upper 60s, and by the end of the month we're looking at temperatures in the upper 70s. And I think we're going to challenge some of those temperatures early in the month of May. In fact, this weekend we're looking at temperatures to be in the middle and upper 80s in some spots. We have a taste of June on the way. Here's the reason why. Let's take a look at the temperatures all across the East Coast. Now, this was the 11 a.m. reading. The temperatures at this early hour all across the East Coast were quite mild. It's 69 in Denver. It was 60 in St. Louis at 11 o'clock, 53 in Chicago. Dallas had a temperature of 65, 69 in New Orleans. So this is where you're finding the core of the warmth, right across the nation's heartland and right through the Midwest. By the time we close out our work week and head into the weekend, the surge of warmth will be working its way into the eastern half of the U.S. So where you see 50s in Philadelphia and Atlanta, these temperatures will easily be up in the upper 70s, if not pushing 80s in some spots. So this is what we're expecting. A full day of sunshine on the way tomorrow. High pressure just off the coast. Temperatures tomorrow should be in the lower 70s. And unlike today, tomorrow we're going to have a wind coming in out of the southwest. And that southwest wind is really going to help to pump in the milder air. Whereas yesterday we had temperatures, or the wind today is coming in out of the northwest. Today, or tomorrow I should say, the winds are going to be coming in out of the southwest. So that's going to help to usher in that milder flow. It gets even warmer by the time we get into Friday and Saturday. You won't believe the numbers Friday. In fact, we're looking at a temperature around 82, upper 80s on Saturday. We're going to get a taste like June by the time we get into May. So if you guys have questions, keep them coming. Keith, this was a question last week from Keith that I must have overlooked or didn't get a chance to read, but Keith wants to know, as far as the water temperatures in South Jersey and Delaware Bay, when will we see 60-degree water temperatures? He's looking to get his crabbing in. Well, Keith, we're going to have to wait until the middle of June for those temperatures to get into the lower 60s. The average temperature in southern sections of New Jersey, that time is about 60 degrees. We're looking at temperatures around 63, anywhere from June 1st to about the middle of June. And temperatures will continue to increase until we get to September, and then they're going to slide back into the lower 60s. So I would say from now until August, temperatures will be on the increase. The lower 60s by June, upper 60s by late June, and then we have the 70s by the time we get into July and August. So you can get your crabbing in then. Right now, water temperatures are a little chilly. In Atlantic City, the water temperature is about 53 degrees. So you don't want to go crabbing today, but hopefully, Keith, that answers your question. So more questions. So we have Michael, and he has a question. What happens to a nor'easter after going out to sea? How does it progress across the Atlantic? Good question. We normally talk about nor'easters during the winter season, and basically a nor'easter is a coastal storm with the winds coming in from the north and east, and they normally ride up the coast.
Meanwhile, today we're working here, and we got up to a chilly morning. I even had to put socks on this morning.
There we go. Back up and running. Lost the connection, but we got it back. Okay. Oh, David Murphy just started his broadcast. There he is. Over my shoulder. Let me just show you. So whenever David's doing his weather, Sarah and Rick, you can see them on the desk there. This way. They are looking over their scripts and making sure everything's ready for the next block. So pretty cool. And this is where we put together all of our forecasts and look at different weather data that comes in. This is where we hang out, in the weather studio. See what's going on. Alright, so we have the web chat going on. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but in live TV that happens from time to time. Okay, so let's answer some more questions here. So we have Ron, and Ron has a question. Hey Melissa, what's the cause of all these severe storms we've been experiencing this year and all the high levels of rain? Well, let's first talk about the reason why we're seeing a lot of rainfall. The rain has to do with the winter season that we're coming off of. We had record snowfall. We all remember we picked up 78.7 inches of snow for this entire winter season, and after that we picked up a lot of heavy rainfall, and then temperatures were starting to increase, which triggered all of the pollen. With the severe storms, it all depends on the position of the jet stream. When we were in our winter season, we were basically in an El Nino pattern. So you had storm systems coming in from the west, moving along the jet stream and really re-energizing as they hit the east coast. And that created all of the snowfall and the record snowfall we had across our area. Now we're starting to see a weaker El Nino. And when we talk about jet stream and we talk about El Nino, we're talking about the position of the jet stream. The jet stream was centered in such a way that we had the Gulf of Mexico not opening up. The jet stream was positioned well to the south, right through the Gulf of Mexico. That storms were picking up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and they were moving up to the east coast. Now we're starting to see a pattern where the El Nino pattern is weakening, allowing for a ridge to build out across the eastern half of the U.S. And it's building in such a way, and really the plain states, that we have storms that are moving through the west coast. They're hooking up with that jet stream that's right through the plain states. So what we have is a lot of warm and moist air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, clashing with cooler air to the north, and we're getting an explosion of storms. It all depends, as far as severe weather, it all depends if we have all of the right ingredients. We need the warm, moist air coming in from the south, from the Gulf of Mexico, the cooler air coming in from the north, and we also need strong dew points. We need some humid air overhead, and we're just seeing it in such a way that we are picking up the severe storms. Keep in mind, though, the severe weather season has been delayed a little bit. It normally peaks in April, We did see the peak last week, but severe weather, we normally get much more than we do right now. But now we are starting to see an increase in severe weather, and it has to do with the position of the jet stream that is allowing warm. There we go. Okay, back up and running again. So let's continue to answer your questions here. So we answered Ron's question about severe weather, and going out of order as usual, like I always do. Let's see. Erin, she has a question about what's up with all the weird weather patterns lately. Well, it depends on where you are. It's definitely been interesting in the sense that we had severe weather and we had a crazy tornado outbreak over the weekend. But as far as weird, temperatures really haven't been that crazy over the past month. I mean, temperatures for the month of April were, for the most part, above average, but we did have a weird, if you want to call it that, winter with record snowfall, and then we had a lot of rain, and then that added to the pollen issue we had, and of course that allowed temperatures to increase rapidly. So define that. Tell me if you're talking about our area, or maybe the plains, or the west coast, but we've seen an unusually cold winter and snowy winter this past winter season. As far as what's ahead for spring, we still have to wait and see. So we're getting out of the month of April, when normally temperatures are in the upper 50s, where we start out, and we end with temperatures in the upper 60s by the end of this month. By the time we get into May, temperatures start out in the upper 60s, and we end with temperatures in the upper 70s. It's going to feel nice by the end of May. But as far as seeing stuff that's unusual, we really haven't. We did pick up a lot of rain. Temperatures did increase quicker than normal, a little faster than normal, but we didn't pick up a lot of rainfall last month. We only got about 2.65 inches. Normally we're close to about 3 inches of rainfall, so we have to wait and see what this month brings. But as I mentioned, get ready for summer this weekend. David, how'd that broadcast go, by the way?
It was fine. I think it's an excellent broadcast, probably one of my best ever.
I would say.
Too bad people were watching you instead of watching me.
Pat on the
Really
back.
missed out.
Pat on the back, Murphy. I gave you a little behind
I
the
gave you a
scenes.
shout out too.
Did you?
Yes, we put you up live as you were chatting there, and we said,
great.
"Hey, come on!" So maybe there'll be some more people coming now.
Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome, absolutely.
So now, David, I think he just did his D3, which is what we do on our digital channel. Whoa. There we go. Stuff is falling around here. My fault. Okay, so let's talk about the weather some more. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so we're getting ready for a little taste of June this weekend. I don't know if you saw the graphic, but let me just put it up once again. Today, it's going to be a little chilly. Definitely cooler than what we're used to. We had that area of low pressure that affected us over the weekend, the one that brought the rainfall, the rain that we needed, even though it made for a pretty dreary weekend. It's up across northern sections of New England, where folks in New Hampshire and Vermont are dealing with a foot of snow, better than us, right? So on the backside of that storm system, the winds are still coming in out of the north and west. That's making for a cool wind. Anytime you talk about winds coming in out of the north, primarily, in the wake of a storm system, we're talking about a cooler wind. So we're going to have an equal amount of cloud cover, I think, and an equal amount of sunshine later on this afternoon. High temperature today, only 60 degrees. It's going to be windy, so that 60-degree number is actually going to feel a little cooler with a northwest wind, a cool wind, coming in, and we have gusts to about 35 miles per hour today, so it's going to be a cooler day. But if you don't like the cooler weather, just hang on. We've got a nice change on the way for you. As early as tomorrow, high pressure returns, a full day of sunshine. We're looking at a high tomorrow of about 72 degrees. And unlike today, with that wind coming in out of the north and west, tomorrow the temperatures, or the wind I should say, will be coming in from the south and west. And that southwest wind pumps in the milder air. So it's going to feel nice tomorrow. Keep in mind, we should only be in the upper 60s this time of year. By Friday, what are we calling for? 82 degrees. It's going to feel really nice. And over the weekend, the upper 80s.
I didn't leave you a pass down note, which I
that's
usually
okay.
do, but you know, it's the fire weather warning,
Yes.
the watch tomorrow, and then the freeze warning tonight.
That's right.
Okay, those
Thank
they're all
you.
made, but you might want to just look and see if you need to tweak.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Murphy.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye, David. Oh, so normally when David leaves, he leaves a note for the producer that comes in later in the afternoon to help so that we're all on the same page when we put together our weather forecast. He was talking about a fire weather watch that will be in effect tomorrow. We actually have a red flag warning that is in effect today. Even though it's a little bit on the cool side, it's dry, even though we did pick up some rain that we needed over the weekend. It's dry outside. We have low relative humidity levels, dry conditions, so that's why the red flag warning goes into effect. And we also have some gusty winds. Remember, I said winds today, gusting up to 35 miles per hour. So keep that in mind if you're going to be outside. Make sure that tinder brush is away from any place that you live. And also the fire weather watch goes into effect tomorrow because temperatures will be surely increasing into the lower 70s by then. So the fire weather watch is in effect later tomorrow. We have the red flag warning that is in effect today and a freeze warning later tonight, mainly north of Philadelphia for Lehigh County and also Northampton County, because with high pressure coming in the wake of our departing area of low pressure that just kept sitting and spinning across our region for days, high pressure comes on in, clears out the atmosphere, dries everything out, so you have diminishing wind, clear skies. That's a good recipe for radiation or cooling across our region. So bring the pets inside and cover up those tender plants and any of the trees that you have across your region. So I'm here throughout the hour for about another 30 minutes answering your questions about the weather, and hopefully I'm answering all the questions for you. I remember Sue last week, she had a question about freeze warnings and if we're going to issue any more. The National Weather Service issues those freeze warnings, but it all depends on the wind direction and the air mass that we're dealing with. And lo and behold, tonight we're going to be dealing with the cooler air mass. That's why the National Weather Service did issue that freeze warning. So we have more questions coming in. Let's see if I can answer all of these. So this is a question from a guest. They didn't leave their name, but that's okay. Is it normal to have such crazy temperatures during the spring? One day it's in the 50s, and then they didn't finish the question, but I pretty much know where they're going. Then we have temperatures in the 60s and 70s. You know, that happens, and that's the reason why I like the weather, because every day is different. And the reason why we could have temperatures one day in the 50s and the next day in the 60s or the 70s, it all has to do with the wind. If you want to make it really simple, it's all about wind and wind direction. We had a storm system, for example, Gust, that is departing to our north and east. The winds on the backside of a storm are always counterclockwise, so we're looking at winds coming in out of the northwest, making it cool. And then tomorrow, we're going to have temperatures in the 70s because we have a southwest wind pumping in the milder air. And to help me answer this question, let's take a look at temperatures out across the East Coast right now. This was an 11 o'clock reading, but it gives you an idea of what we're trending toward over the next couple of days. Out through St. Louis, temperature of 60, 65 at 11 a.m. in Dallas, New Orleans, and the Big Easy. We had temperatures close to about 70 degrees, close to 70 in Denver, and this is where that surge of warmth is coming on in. So when we talk about a southwest wind coming into the northeast, this is where that warmer air is coming from. It's coming from the plains and the southeast, and eventually that warmer air will be working its way into our region. So it's all about wind direction, and it's not unusual to have a crazy swing in temperatures. March is a month that is unpredictable. When we get into April, you can have swings and highs and lows across our area. It's really simple. It all depends on the wind direction. So hopefully, guys, I answered that question for you. Oh, it was Christine. So hopefully, Christine, I answered that question for you. I just did. Hopefully you didn't miss it. Good. I'm glad you got your answer. Wonderful. Let's see. This is Bruce. Bruce likes my weather reports. Thank you very much. He's wondering if I'm from Philadelphia. Why? Did I say something funny? I remember when I just moved here, I was taking a cab to work. And I said to the cab driver, I said, you know, why aren't you getting on the freeway? Is the freeway crowded? And the cabbie said to me, he's like, oh, I can tell you're not from here. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, because we don't call our freeways, they're highways. You must be from the West Coast. And I had no idea because I'm from the West Coast. I'm from California, and we call our 4-lane highways freeways. So that was a telltale sign that I wasn't from Philadelphia. But Bruce, no, I am not from Philly. I'm born and raised on the West Coast from Los Angeles, but I have been on the East Coast for about 5 years now, so I am very familiar with the weather patterns and what goes on across the East Coast. I was working for AccuWeather in State College prior to coming here to WPVI. I was also in New York City. That was my job right before coming to Philly, but I am definitely glad to make Philly my home, and I love to eat. Some great restaurants in Center City in the downtown Philadelphia area. You know, I was actually up in Ambler, PA this past Friday. We had Earth Fest. Hopefully you guys did something to preserve and protect our planet on Friday. Actually, Earth Day was Thursday, but Earth Fest at Temple University at the Ambler campus, they had a big celebration this past Friday. So it was really cool to get out and about across the greater Philadelphia area. Very pretty campus up there too. So Bruce, hopefully that answers your question. And thanks so much for the compliment. Keep those questions and those comments coming in, guys. I'm going to be here answering your questions. If you have questions about our weather that's coming up, if you're planning on taking a trip this weekend and you're in the local area, I can answer your questions about that and any upcoming events you have going on. So we had a woman, a viewer, who asked about how does she become a meteorologist and what classes she takes. Hopefully I answered that question for you. And we talked about what's coming up with our weather. And coming up this weekend, we have the Broad Street Run. I don't know if anybody's planning on running in that race. We've got avid runners in our weather department. Cecily Tynan, huge runner, great shape. She's going to be in that run. I think Adam Joseph is also going to be in that. And if you want to know what the weather is going to be like for that run, by the weekend, we're looking at temperatures in the upper 80s. So it's going to be pretty warm. Saturday looks to be a little bit on the humid side, but by Sunday it shouldn't be as humid. It's still going to be warm, a little bit on the humid side. The high temperature Sunday should be around 80 degrees. So for the start of the race, if the race is early in the morning, about 8, 9 o'clock, we're looking at temperatures in the upper 50s, lower 60s. That's not bad running weather. There could be a thunderstorm in the day on Sunday, but it shouldn't be enough to hamper your race for the Broad Street Run. So good luck to all the runners out there. Oh, so this is, forgive me if I'm not saying your name correctly, Catharia S. And I answered her question about, you know, what school to go to. And she was thinking about Penn State. She's actually a college student right now, and she does agree more females need to be in this field. And she loves the weather. I do too. So good. Hopefully you go for that degree. Penn State is a great university, and you have great resources at your fingertips there in State College, PA. Okay, I could call her Kathy for short. Okay, good. So just curious, Kathy, what are you studying now? I mean, are you a freshman, sophomore, junior year? Are you thinking about transferring to another school or to Penn State? So we had Keith's question about South Jersey, wants to get his crabbing in. You may have to wait till the late May, early June to go crabbing because temperatures right now are only in the low 50s. So it's a little cool to go crabbing right now. But by the time we get into June, temperatures should be in the lower 60s, middle of June into August, temperatures in the upper 60s and then low 70s by the time we get into middle and late August. So temperatures, water temperatures will be on the increase from now until late August, and then they'll start to be on the decline by the time we get into September and fall rolls around once again. So this is Rita. Rita had a question about the frost forecast for the end of April into May. This was a question from last week. I'm not sure if I answered it, so I put it back on our board just to make sure I did answer Rita's question. And wouldn't you know, Rita, we're talking about not frost but freeze, mainly to the north of Philadelphia. And her concern is for gardeners. Tonight, you may want to bring your fragile plants inside, because if you live north of Philadelphia, right through Allentown, right through Lehigh County, Northampton County, there is actually a freeze warning that's going to stay into effect. And you know what you could do? You could use some of the tools we use to check the weather and forecast the weather. If you go to NOAA's website, let me just turn this camera around so you can see what I'm looking at. Can you see that there? It's actually too light to see. But this is a camera that I have up for you in a second. The studio's so quiet. The show is over. Nobody's on the desk behind me. I feel so lonely when everybody's gone. Okay, so you can go to NOAA. Then NOAA basically stands for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. That's what it stands for, and it's NOAA.gov. And you can basically click on our area and it tells you what's going on as far as freeze warnings and watches across our region. So that's going to be a concern later tonight. It's not in effect right now, even though it was chilly this morning. Look at the morning lows we had across our area. In the Poconos, we were only at the freezing mark, 32 degrees. It was 33 for that morning low in Allentown. We had low in Reading of about 37, 33 in Lancaster, 39 in Dover. So you could see where we had that cool pocket of air that moved across our region. Philadelphia, our morning low wasn't bad, but it was cool if you woke up and you wanted to do some jogging or some walking, definitely on the chilly side. So Rita had a question about gardening. Probably don't want to do any gardening tonight, Rita, because it's going to be chilly and it may damage some of those tender crops and some of that vegetation. So the freeze warning goes into effect from 2 a.m. later tonight or overnight, and it will last right through 8 a.m. Thursday. And this is basically because temperatures will be below freezing in some spots, especially to the north of Philadelphia. So that's what we have to watch out for. Cover up the sensitive vegetation. You definitely want to bring our furry friends inside, your pets too. So it's going to be cold tonight, and it's probably because we have high pressure coming on in. Even though it's windy right now, we're looking at gusts up to 35 miles per hour. The winds will diminish later on tonight. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss any questions. I'm just taking a look at some of them. See what I can post here. Oh, so let's see what this question is. Oh, you know what? Someone's asking about Facebook and if I'm going to tap into that. You know, maybe I should. I know David Murphy does something with that. So maybe I should join the bandwagon. You know, outside of work, I don't tweet. I'm not on MySpace. I'm not on any of that stuff. I just can't keep up. There's so much going on. But for Facebook, for the fans, I definitely will, because it's kind of cool for you guys to get a glimpse as to what's going on behind the scenes and here at the station. So, you know what? Good suggestion. I'm going to do it. Oh, so this is Kathy. So I asked Kathy, since she's thinking about being a meteorologist. She's in her second year at Bucks County. She goes part-time. Oh, aerospace company. That's pretty cool. She has to take a science degree. Her plan is to finish her AA at Bucks, then transfer to Penn State. Well, best of luck to you, Kathy. Hopefully you do well. And if you have any questions along the way, I'll be here every Wednesday to answer your questions. But it's a great, great school. So Bruce has another question. Why does the weather flip back and forth? Cold, then hot, cold, then hot. I think somebody else had this question. Was it you, Bruce? Let me just make sure I answered it for you. No, you know what? It was Christine. She also had a question. Why do we have these crazy swing in temperatures? And the answer is pretty simple. You can look at our weather today and see that we have an area of low pressure. Let me just put the graphic up one more time, but it really helps answer the question, so that's why I'm doing it, Bruce. So here we go. This is what we have going on. And today, we basically have an area of low pressure that is well to the north and east of the Delaware and Lehigh Valleys, up through northern sections of New England, heading up through the Canadian Maritimes. But the winds on the back side of the storm system, when we talk about storms, the winds are generally counterclockwise. So we have a counterclockwise rotation of air, and that's the air that we're picking up. We're on the back side of that storm. So we have a northwest wind that's coming down into our region. And when we talk about a north wind, it's a cooler wind. So we have cool air that's moving down across our area. High temperature today, 60 degrees, okay? So let's fast forward into Thursday. Tomorrow, that area of low pressure kicks out to sea. It's up into the Canadian Maritimes, not an issue for us anymore. High pressure returns, and you have to look at the position of that high. It's to the south of our region, just off the coast of the Carolinas. And when we talk about high pressure, the flow around that is clockwise. So we're getting a clockwise wind that's coming into our area, and that's pushing in a southwest wind. So we have a milder flow of air that's coming into our region. A full day of sunshine on the way, and warmer temperatures up to 72 degrees. So it has to do with the heat source, where that warmth is coming from, and what kind of wind is working its way into our region. Because sometimes, there are a lot of times in the summer when you have massive heat going on out across the plain states. It's going to be like 90 or 80 across the plains, but you don't have that same amount of warmth working its way into the eastern half of the U.S. Temperatures moderate as they head east, depending on where that heat source is coming from. So we may not always have temperatures in the 80s or 90s when the temperatures are in the 80s or 90s all across the plain states. So, for example, let me just see what the forecast is over the weekend in Texas. Like, let's just say, for example, in Texas, the temperature is going to be 90 degrees. And that's where you have the core of the heat. Well, by the time that heat works its way across the eastern half of the U.S., the air is going to moderate a little bit. So it's not going to be that hot. But you can expect temperatures to warm up rapidly like they are this weekend. So today we have highs in the 60s at best. And by this weekend, we're going to have temperatures in the lower 80s to upper 80s. So that's why we have the swing in temperatures. It all has to do with the wind direction on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully, Bruce, that answers your question. I just need to take a swig of water. It's kind of hard talking for an hour straight. Where's my co-anchor? Non-existent, just me. Okay, so let's answer some more questions here. So Guest has a question. Are there papers behind me? Oh. So Guest wants to know, what are all the papers behind me? Looks like Post-its with so much technology. Just curious. You know what that is? You are looking, this thing behind me, these are actually notes, because we have the big board that we use. I don't know if you've seen our promo that we have on 6ABC and on Channel 6. That's the big board. You're looking at the backside of the big board. You know, when David Murphy and Adam Joseph, they talk about storms that are coming on in, and we like bring stuff out wide and we can draw on it. That's our big board, and that just kind of helps. It's another gadget, and it's another form of technology we use to help us tell the story to you, to the viewers at home. So it gives you an idea of what's going on. So that is the big board. Those are all the Post-its behind me. So keep those questions coming in, guys. I'll be here for a few more minutes answering your questions about the weather. We talk about the weather together. and answer your questions. So this is your full hour to get to know me, ask questions about the weather, and anything that may be affecting you this upcoming weekend. I do anchor on the weekends, but during the week I do a couple of stories from time to time. I mentioned I emceed the Earth Fest 2010, and I think on Thursday I did Best of Class, which is something 6ABC does every year, where we take a moment to honor students all across the Delaware and Lehigh Valley, students in Pennsylvania, in Delaware, and Jersey, and they're like the creme de la creme. These are like the best of their class, valedictorians. I interviewed a guy who had a 5.8 GPA, which I didn't even know existed. When I was in school, we had 4 point blank and above because you take all those AP classes. But he had a 5.8, so he was a valedictorian of his class. And I do want you to check this out because Tamala Edwards and Matt O'Donnell, they do host the event, and we will actually air that event May 15th on 6ABC at 7 o'clock. So take a look at this package here.
Now let that play. If you close that window, it will close for the people in the chat too.
Okay,
So you gotta let that stay up.
gotcha.
I mean, if you can't hear it, they can hear it because there's no speakers.
That's cool. Can they see me too?
Yes, they can see you.
Okay.
And actually, you're kind of hovering above the video that's playing, on their windows.
Mm.
So did you need something? I heard you say, "Where's my producer?"
Oh, I was joking.
I know.
No, I didn't. Just because I was.
Took up for a while.
Which is good. That's a good idea.
Is that the guy with the 5.8?
Mm-hmm. So there you go, guys. That was the best of the best across the Delaware and Lehigh Valley. So congratulations to them. That guy, by the way, the guy that I interviewed, Neil, that was his name. He was the one with the 5.8. Good for him. I'm sure he'll do well in college. And the last girl that I interviewed, I think her name was Rachel Karen. She was really sweet, really nice. And I think she said she wanted to be an ambassador because she loves to travel. So we've got a great group of kids here in the Delaware Valley, and apparently they are doing very well. So let's take a look at more questions we have coming in. And by the way, you can watch Best of Class, hosted by Tamala Edwards and Matt O'Donnell, on our channel 6 ABC, May 15th at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Let's take a look at more questions.
And it is like 3 minutes till 1. So.
Okay. Oh, look at this. Guest wants to know, is Magee your real name? All I have to say is my mama was thinking, wasn't she? Yes, Magee is my real name. That's my dad's name, obviously. But yes, Melissa Magee is my real name. People ask me that a lot because it kind of just Melissa Magee. But yes, that's my real name. This is John. He just has a question about me being on the air, and I actually do the thank you 5:30 weather. When Adam Joseph normally has his days off, I'm in, and I do the 5:30 weather Thursday and Friday, and on the weekends in the morning. So that's when you can catch me. And occasionally out in the field, I'll do a package like Best of Class or a feature type story out in the field, and you can see me reporting as well. Just want to see what this one is. Oh, so this is, I think it's Shafiq. Hang on a second. I lost it. Okay. This is Shafiq, and he wants to know, thank you for the compliment. Bad weather we had this past winter. Do I think we'll see that again? I hope not. That was crazy, and we were working a lot during the winter season. That was a crazy record we had. 78.7 inches of snow for the season. That trumps all of the records we had since we were keeping records way back when in the heydays. So I think the record that we broke was the record in 1965 when we got about 65 inches of snow. This past winter we got 78.7, so that was a crazy winter. It all depends on the jet stream, and we just had a really strong El Nino pattern, which basically is when you have storms out across the Pacific coast where you have a lot of cool air. They meet up with the jet stream, and you get more moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, and it just ballooned over our area. So it's pretty hard to tell now if we're going to find a season like that come this winter, but certain meteorologists, when we get closer to that season, they take a look at the jet stream, they take a look at El Nino, La Nina, and the patterns that are shaping up. So it'd be just a Fantasyland guess for me to say that we're going to have another winter like that. That one was one for the record book, so it'd be rare to have one like that again, because normally we average about anywhere from 19 to 22 inches of snow for a season. So that was definitely crazy. So this is a question, another question from our guest. This will probably be our last one. Is it just me, or in the last few years has it been taking longer for the spring to come? We used to say March comes in like a lion, out like a lamb, but I don't think I've seen that in a few years. Your thoughts? I'm trying to think. I have to look at, and I may answer this question again next week since we're running out of time, but I'm trying to think of what March looked like. It's all a blur since we're now in April. But it's actually not taking longer for spring. Some people might say this year, or at least for the start of the spring season, we actually had temperatures that were above average. Normally, when we start the month of April, temperatures are in the upper 50s, and by the end of the month, temperatures are in the upper 60s. And for really the month of April, most days we had temperatures above where they should be, above our seasonal norms. So I don't think it's taking longer for us to get into spring. Some people actually like the change of season and like how temperatures start out in the upper 50s and gradually climb up. We haven't really seen that for the month of April, although things can change for the month of May. The early look at May, we're looking at temperatures feeling like June to start out the first weekend of May. But by the time we get into the middle of our work week, by next Wednesday, temperatures should come down again. We're actually looking at a cool front that comes in over the weekend. No real cool air until the middle half of our work week. By then, temperatures should be closer to normal, should be in the middle and upper 60s by then. So I'm going to hold on to that question and answer it next week, this time on Wednesday, to give you a better idea on my thoughts. And Victor, it's a nice way to end stuff. I think you fit in good to Action News. Thank you very much. And guys, keep those questions coming. Keep them coming in, because I'll make sure I'll get back to them next week, this time on Wednesday. If I don't talk to you now, have a great weekend. And if you like the warm weather, you're going to like this weekend. We'll see you next time.